Hello guys, welcome back to a new video on the Worsters channel where we talk about everything Fortnite Creative related. Today we're going over the fixed point camera and everything it has in store for us. So let's get right on into the video. Basically how this fixed point camera works, as you can see if I go into here and click start, this will set a fixed point that you can either have following your character or not. It allows you to move the camera just like this, set a dead zone where the camera can't go any farther than this point, and other things like the pitch, yaw, and if you clamp it so it cannot tilt more than a certain amount. So let's get right into the settings of it. You can find this device right up here, content, devices, right here in your devices menu. It's right here, camera, it's this one, camera fixed. Place this one down just like this, and I'm gonna grab a new one, and we're gonna go right over these settings in this device. This device does not allow you to rescale it in Creative 1.0, but you most definitely can in UEFN, which is 2.0. So let's get right into the settings here. The first setting we have is Creative Preview. This is just a preview of what your device is doing. So if I click start right here, as you can see, my character's right here. I don't need my character on screen. It's just a set point and I cannot move it. If I click stop, it stopped. And for that, make sure when you click start, it's in that position. And you're like, oh, how do I get out of this mode? I have no clue how to get out of this mode. You can back up right and make it so until it says customize the camera, click E and click stop. It's really weird for that, but yeah. Next setting here, priority. This is the priority of the camera. So when multiple cameras are active, on the bottom it says when multiple cameras are active to one player, the highest priority will be considered active. That means if you set a camera to priority 1, say this camera was priority 1 and this camera over here is priority 2, the camera with the highest value is the one that's going to show. So this one right here that has a priority of 2 is higher than 1, so this will be active over this one. If say you set this one over here instead of 1, you set this one to 100, then you can have this one over all of them. So say I turn this all the way up to like the max, which is 10,000. I put it to 100,000. I don't know if you can go any more. So you can pretty much go any priority you want. This is the craziest number I've ever seen in Creative in one of these menus. So 999.9999. So this is like a really high number. But yeah, so this will always be active. So if you want a camera to always be active over any other camera, you will set this to the highest priority or not. So I'm going to turn that off for now. So the one, basically all you need to know for that, the one with the highest value is the one that's going to be counted at the moment if you have multiple cameras on one player. Next one here, add the players on start. Would you like to add all the players to this camera when the game starts, on or off? Up to you. I'm going to keep it off for now just so I can show you. Just so I can show you how this camera works. Next one here, remove on elimination. Would you like to remove this camera when the player gets an elimination? So whenever a player gets elimination, if you want it to remove the camera, you set it to on. If you don't want it to remove, you set it to off. Pretty simple. Next one here, enable during game phase. This is of course, you got your always, your gameplay, and your none. Always, it's always enabled. Gameplay is gameplay only, as it says, and none is none of the time until you enable it with your functions and events. Next one right here is your preview device color. This doesn't really matter a ton, but you can change the color to whatever you want. So say I click like gold, it will set the camera to gold. I feel like it is mostly just for you and your if you want to organize a ton of cameras in your game, you can set it to any one of these colors. There's a ton of options here. I can go purple. Looks good. But for now, I'm just going to set it right back to blue. Cool. Next one here is the field of view that the camera has. Do you want the field of view to be 80, which is just like this? This is an 80 field of view. Pretty simple. Or do you want the field of view to be, say, all the way up to 120, which will look just like this? You'll have a bigger field of view that you can look in. Up to you how much view you want. I'm just going to set mine to like about 100, I would say. Pretty simple. Next one here, transition. These are the transition ones. So if your transition in priority, transition in time, transition in type, and then your transition out and transition out time, transition out type. There's a ton of transition ones. So basically the transition is just you going from my normal character playing like this. It's just from me going from my normal character straight into this camera right here. And what transition would you like? You could set this a ton of things. So the first one right here says transition in priority. So this is the highest priority, of course, just like again, like the other value. If you click 2 and another one's 1, the 2 will take priority. Pretty simple on that one. Next one here is transition in time. So this is how long you want the transition to be when it is going into the camera. So say I set this to, just for example, I'm going to set this to, I'll set it to the max. And then you have your transition time, and then you have your transition type. So you can do ease in, you can ease in, you can fade, you can do a linear, which linear is just going straight from your character's camera into the camera, and I'll show you that. And ease in, ease out. So I'm going to set it to linear for now. So I'm going to go in, click start, quickly leave this, and as you can see, it is doing the transition straight to the camera. Let's see that again, and transition, and boom, just like that. That's the whole thing for transition. And if you would like to transition out, so we did the in part, so in is the time and type. Out is also the priority time and type. So we're going to turn this up to 3 seconds once again. Right here, 3 seconds. And we're going to do a linear out. So now we have a linear going in and a linear going out. Let's take a look of what that looks like. So let's go like this. We're going in, and then if I do it again, it's going out linear also. Perfect, just like that. It's really cool transition, really nice. So I'm gonna set that to 1, I'm gonna set this to 1, so we're gonna make our transition shorter. Next one here is look at target. Would you like the camera to follow the target around? So I'm gonna show you what that looks like. If you set to look at target to yes, you will get a couple more settings right here that say, you actually get a ton more settings. There's a lot. So if you click that, where did it go? Look at target. If you click this on, you will get a ton more settings, and there's so much to cover here. Don't worry, I'm gonna go over all right now. So we got our look at offset distance, look at offset horizontal, and look at offset vertical. Your distance, your horizontal, and your vertical. Your distance is, I guess, I'm going to call it centimeters. It probably is centimeters. I'm going to go, that's the distance offset. So that's when the camera moves forward and backward. It's the offset from the target, which is the player. So if I set this up to 10, you probably can't see that a ton. So I'm going to set this to like maybe 1,000. You can set this to anything you want, actually. Try 100. And then, so offset distance is 100 centimeters. Offset horizontal is your left and right. That's how it cuts off. Set that to 100 also. Look at offset vertical. I'm gonna set that also to 100, just like that. So let's test our offsets. Just like that. So as you can see, it looks a little funky because I set everything to 100, but this is the offset. It has our field of view, and you can't really tell a lot of what it's doing, but it does make a difference. Let's go back in here, and let's look on in here. Where was it? Right here. So I'm just going to set these to 0 for now. I'm not going to worry about these a ton. Distance, horizontal, and vertical offsets. They're a little complicated. You really got to mess around with them to understand. But anyways, let's move on to the yaw acceleration and yaw max speed. This is the acceleration that the camera will move with the character left and right. So the yaw acceleration. So this is how many. This says right here, I know I can't cover over it, but it says 6 degrees per second. So that's how many degrees it will move per second. So say if I set this to 0 degrees per second, just like that, that means the camera will move instantly with the player. So it will lock on and it will not go off. So I'll show you this right now. Start, transition, and it is locked on. So as soon as I move my character, it moves as soon as possible. 0 degrees per second. Just like that, and yeah. But say I set this to the yaw acceleration. Say I set this to, let's say, 20. Then it will take way longer. I don't know how much it will take, but it will take longer to move, just like that. So let's scroll back down here. So the yaw acceleration and the yaw max speed is what you really want. This is the acceleration in degrees per second, and this is the max speed that it can go. So say I set this to max speed of 10, start that. So that means it'll only have a max speed of 10. So as you can see, I have a max speed of 10, so it moves way slower. So I set the speed to a certain degrees per second, but the max speed is 10, so it sets it to 10. And I'm moving around really slowly. It's trying to move my character, but it's so slow. At 10 degrees per second, just like that. There's just a ton of settings you can mess around with to follow your character. It's actually crazy how much they added. This is way easier to look at when you're in UEFN, but for now we are in here. So let me set this back to 0. Let me set this to 20, and there we go. So right here, our pitch acceleration and pitch max speed is, I'm not going to go through it a ton, but it is the same as the yaw acceleration max speed, but pitch is the opposite way as yaw. So this pitch is up and down, and yaw is left and right. That's pretty much the whole difference between those. Next one, clamp. There's a ton of settings for clamp. So if I turn on clamp right now, it'll open another menu of a ton of more settings in here. So we have clamp pitch min, clamp pitch max, clamp yaw min, clamp yaw max. So this is the maximum amount of degrees that it will turn. So if I set clamp pitch min to a certain amount and max to a certain amount and min and max, so my pitch is up and down and my yaw is left and right. So this is I cannot go farther than this amount of degrees for left and right. As you can see, one is negative because if you look at a number line, like negative is to the left and then positive is to the right. So that's why one's negatives and one positive by default. The next one is yaw, and yaw, one is negative and one is positive again, just based off of like the sense of a number line. That's basically the whole thing. So if I set the pitch to a certain amount and the yaws to a certain amount, as you can see, if I test this out, it will only be able to move a certain amount. So it is really slow. I don't know why I set it like this, but if I can only move a certain amount. So it will not move farther than this point because that's what we set it to. So I can walk all the way over here and it still will not because it's out of the dead zone. But if I move back in, just like this, move over here, I'm now out and it can't move anymore. That's pretty much the whole thing on clamp. It clamps it to a certain like kind of grid, and if you go off the grid, it will stop following you. That's pretty much the whole thing. So I'm gonna turn clamp. I'm gonna keep it on for now. Let's move to dead zone. Dead zone will open more. Dead zone yaw, dead zone pitch, dead zone yaw offset, dead zone pitch offset. These are very similar. Yaw is left and right. Pitch is up and down, left and right, up and down. It's just a dead zone of where it will not track you inside of the camera's view. I'm not going to go through that a ton, but you can mess with these settings. Dead zone is just a dead zone of where it cannot see you. Next one here is effects team. Effects team, effects class, invert team, and invert class. These last four, pretty self-explanatory. If it affects team 1, it affects team 1 only. And if you invert the team, it affects everyone except for team 1. And say you set effects class to 1, you click invert class on, that means everyone except class 1 can activate it, and if you turn it off, only class 1 can activate it. Pretty self-explanatory. I'm going to leave that all up to you of what you would like to do in your maps. But yeah, there's a ton of settings in here. Most of these are just for following the player. So if a player's in front of the camera, just following that player everywhere. But yeah, now I'm going to show you how to hook this up to a button and add players and stuff. So if I go on into here, I can search up a button, pull up my button device like that. Or I'm not going to do a button because a button's hard. I'm actually going to do a trigger. So if I take a trigger and place it, say like maybe like one right there, this one's on, this one's off, or something like that. So this is our on trigger. On trigger, just like that. And on triggered, we're gonna send to our camera fix point 2, and we're gonna set to there's enable, disable, add player, remove player, add to all, remove from all. So for this, you can this enable, disable is just enabling the camera device. Add to player should be the one we want. So if we add a player, we'll just add to the player that triggered this trigger. If we remove, it'll remove it. Add to all and remove from all, pretty self-explanatory. I'm just gonna click add to player, click OK. This is our on trigger, just like that. And this will be our off trigger, just like that. Pop in here, select our camera device, come and select remove from player. So now we have it set up where whenever I step on this trigger like this, it will enable the camera and I can move around. When I step on this one, it will disable and it will get me out of the view. So if we come in here, we could double check that all our functions are set up right here. Add to player and remove from player on our 2 triggers. Let's start the game and see if it works. So as you can see, got our 2 triggers. Step on this one. Boom. It will put us exactly what we want right into our camera view. There's our dead zone, or there's our clamp. We have all our settings, moving at a certain speed. Perfect, exactly how I set it. Now, as soon as I step on this other trigger right here, it will disable and it will bring us linearly back to our camera. I couldn't say that word. And let's try it again. Boom, and boom, just like that. Bring us back and forth from our fixed camera. That's basically how the fixed camera works. There's a lot of little tweaking, little settings you can do in this to modify this. But if you did enjoy this video, it did take a long time to record and make. And if you did enjoy it, leave a like and subscribe. We are on our way to 5,000 subscribers. Thank you guys so much for 4,100. We have come such a long way. I appreciate you all for being here. And leave any comments down below if you have any questions. And if you would like to use code peeper in the Fortnite item shop, you can use that code. It supports me a ton. It's code peeper, P-E-E-P-E-R. But that's it. Thank you all for watching. I will see you in the next one. A sister out.